Many people, including myself, have taken issue with how the Academy has delegitimized the most prestigious award in film in recent years. Whether it be them adding unnecessary provisions to appease the crybabies on social media, or the way that they flirted with the idea of including films in the Best Picture category that have no business being there. But every once in a while, they do ignore all the noise and they get something right. Yes, every once in a while, they rightfully reward films for their achievements in filmmaking. I know it's a novel idea. So if you can get past the cringe Jimmy Kimmel jokes and the weird John Cena humiliation rituals and the self-indulgent speeches and general phoniness of Hollywood, what you will find is that the Oscars 2024 did more right than they did wrong. Let's discuss.
I watch so you don't have to.
All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
The first thing that jumped out to me about the 2024 Oscars is the social media backlash when Across the Spiderverse didn't win Best Animated Film. We even had Shameik Moore, Miles Morales himself, proclaiming that Across the Spiderverse was robbed. Interesting choice. I guess having respect for your fellow nominees is a bit of a dying art. Thankfully, Chris Miller reacted to the loss with a bit more class, so good on him. When it comes right down to it, I personally thought that Across the Spider-Verse was just fine, but vastly overrated. And if this film not winning an Oscar means that its toxic fan base, who can't seem to handle a difference of opinion, is a little bit upset today, then so be it. I honestly can't think of another group of people who deserve it more.
Off is a direction you can
On to better, more relevant news. Godzilla Minus One won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects. John Carpenter himself, being the absolute legend that he is, tweeted this out right after the win. Quote, "Incredible. Godzilla Minus One wins an Academy Award for special effects in my lifetime. Fantastic." And I couldn't have said it better myself. Now don't get me wrong, I think Godzilla Minus One was such a good film that it probably deserved to be nominated for more categories this year. But on the flip side of things, this is a massive achievement when you stop and think about it. And it is something that is worthy of celebration. When you consider that the visual effects in this film look as good as they do, and when you take into account the reported limited resources that this team had to work with, I say you give them all their flowers because they deserve it. If nothing else, Godzilla Minus One put most American-made, big-budget blockbusters to absolute shame this year visually. It's a testament to what happens when the people making the film actually care about what they are doing and aren't just working for a paycheck.
put some effort into it.
And then we have Oppenheimer, completely dominating the competition as it should be. Unfortunately, the other half of Barbenheimer was shut out in most major categories, but that's to be expected. First off, I have to talk about Robert Downey Jr. for a second. An aspect to this film that I thought people were kind of overlooking initially. To me, Robert Downey Jr. reminded people of what he is actually capable of with his performance in Oppenheimer. Remember a couple of years ago when people on social media were trying to start this movement to get Robert Downey Jr. nominated for an Oscar for his cumulative work as Tony Stark. Not only is that a ridiculous notion and completely missing the point of what an Oscar actually is, but the truth is that Robert Downey Jr. had to get away from Marvel and Tony Stark and get back to real filmmaking. And he's actually said as much himself in recent interviews. Christopher Nolan supplied him with an opportunity that Marvel would never have. I respect and love what he did with Tony Stark. He is literally perfect for the role. He's almost too perfect for the role because a lot of it feels like he's just kind of playing himself. But his performance in Oppenheimer, to me, was on another level. And it was truly worthy of the recognition that Robert Downey Jr. would ultimately receive. Cillian Murphy also won for Best Actor, and to me, this has always been a one-horse race. The truth is that Cillian Murphy separated himself from the pack the moment he accepted this role. Him collaborating to create this story about this figure, with Christopher Nolan at the helm. It was a perfect storm of events, and to me, that's how you make magic in the world of cinema. True acting to me is when you are able to embody another individual, either fictional or real, and sell the audience on the idea that literally no one else could have played this role in your absence. And to me, that's exactly what Cillian Murphy did. He shed this supporting actor stigma that he's carried around with him for his entire career. And he took this role as Oppenheimer and asserted himself as a legitimate leading man moving forward. So congrats to him on that.
My man.
As far as Christopher Nolan rightfully winning Best Director, what can I say about the man that hasn't already been said? Christopher Nolan is cinema. He is everything you could ever want in a director rolled up into one. He understands how to tell stories in the most effective way possible. And you can tell he has a real passion for what he does by the way he talks about and creates films. A lot of times, the Academy tends to overlook certain directors in their primes. And this ultimately leads them to giving this director a makeup Oscar later in their career for a lesser film. It happened to Scorsese to an extent, and it's happening right now with Quentin Tarantino. But thankfully, it won't be happening with Christopher Nolan because the Academy actually got this one right.
I don't believe it!
They rewarded him for delivering legitimate peak cinema. And I can't think of anyone else who is more deserving of that than Christopher Nolan. When he won, it legitimately made me happy. So Oppenheimer is the best film of the year according to the Academy. Oppenheimer is the best film of the year according to myself and a laundry list of other people. To me, this is how the Academy restores legitimacy to their awards, by not letting opportunities like this pass them by. Oppenheimer was a critical and financial success, which is not something you can say for a lot of films that won Best Picture. But the good thing about that happening this time is that many people, many average moviegoers, actually know the film that is winning Best Picture this year. That's a massive win. And just to be clear, I'm not saying they should take this as a sign to nominate every piece of garbage that does well financially.
No, no, no! Hell no! No!
What I am saying is that this is a sign, hopefully, that general audiences are ready for quality again. I hope this is a lesson to studios that encourages them to take a little bit more chances with the films they produce, and to place their faith in the hands of capable directors. I think that Oppenheimer sweeping the Oscars and dominating at the box office is a sign of cultural change that the entertainment industry desperately needed. Hopefully it starts a new trend where quality of filmmaking is placed back at the forefront. Only time will tell, but I think if change does ultimately happen, we will look back at the year of Oppenheimer as a massive turning point. A turning point that swung the momentum of cinema back in the right direction. And we have Christopher Nolan and company to thank for that.
Y'all be cool. Nah.